Hi everyone, today we are going to learn about what is assimilation of food, right? Students, in earlier classes we know that what is absorption in the small intestine, and we know that small intestine is having blood vessels which is present in the finger like projection which we called villi, right? So what happened actually, now what we had learned that food finally it get absorbed in the blood. So assimilation of food means now blood carries the absorbed food, okay. We can say that absorb digested food from the small intestine, and then it pass the food to different organs of the body. Now because blood is carrying the absorbed food, now that absorbed food is finally passes into different cells of the body, and there the food is utilized to release the energy. Okay, fine. Like this is the final stage in the process of digestion, and we call it as assimilation of food. Students, in the cell, you should know that inside the cell the glucose breakdown, that is the simplest form of the food that breakdowns with the help of oxygen into carbon dioxide and water, and it release energy. This is how we are getting energy. We will learn the same thing in chapter when we will learn about the chapter respiration in organisms. Okay, then you are automatically know that finally how the energy is released inside the body. Okay, as you know that amino acids are used for building and repairing of the body parts, okay, such as worn out cells and the tissues, and the fatty acids and the cholesterols, they act as energy reserves and they are stored under the skin for further uses, right? So this is all about assimilation, means whatever we get from the absorbed food, finally it is utilized by the cell to perform various functions, right? Now come to the next one, that is ingestion of undigested food. Students, the food that remains undigested and unabsorbed, they passes from the small intestine and it comes into now in large intestine, which is wider and shorter than the small intestine. Do you remember what is the length of the small intestine? Yes, it is 7.5 meter long, and large intestine is smaller than small intestine. It is only about 1.5 meter in length, right? Large intestine, it is having two parts. The upper part is called the colon and the lower part is called the rectum. So what happens actually, students, colon, it absorbs the water and the salt which is present in the undigested food. Because water get absorbed by the colon, so what will happen? Due to this, the undigested food, it become dry and almost semi-solid. This is known as feces, and it is stored for some time in the rectum, and feces are then passed out from the body through anus, and this process of passing out or removing the undigested food is called as egestion. I hope you are able to understand. Let us revise the entire process of digestion with the help of this diagram. Okay, now look at the diagram carefully and let us recall the entire process. Now come to this point, that is the first region, that is the buccal cavity, oral cavity. Okay, so oral cavity, you know, you are able to see the oral cavity is having tongue, salivary glands are present, teeth is here. So finally we know that from here the first digestion take place, that the starch is converted into sugar with the help of an enzyme which is called as amylase. Okay, and finally the paste form of the food, it goes from a small tube, and the small tube is called pharynx. From pharynx it passes to the long tube, that is esophagus, with the help of peristalsis movement. Okay, the food passes down into the stomach region. Stomach is a muscular bag like structure, and the food and the bacteria which enter along with the food, it is killed by an acid that is called hydrochloric acid. Finally, here what will happen, with the help of an enzyme pepsin, the proteins, it gets converted into peptones, okay, and from here the food finally goes to small intestine, okay. Small intestine is associated with two glands. Are you able to see the reddish upper biggest gland, the largest gland? Okay. This is the liver, and you know that liver secrete a juice which we call bile juice. Students, are you able to see the green small bag just below the liver? That is called gallbladder. Gallbladder is, what is the function of gallbladder? That for temporary basis it store the bile juice, okay, and finally from here the bile juice, it passes to the small intestine. And are you able to see the slight yellow portion under the below the stomach? This is pancreas, and pancreas secretes pancreatic juice which also goes to the small intestine, and small intestine is also has its own intestinal juice. So finally here in the small intestine, complete digestion takes place, like carbohydrate converts into what? Glucose. Fats converts into fatty acid and glycerol, and proteins are converted into amino acid. And you know, minerals and vitamins, they are the simpler form only, so it is easily absorbed by the cell. So what happens, the food is absorbed by the blood, okay, because small intestine carries blood vessels inside the villi, and so the food finally the nutrients, all the nutrient, it get absorbed by the blood. And the undigested food, it passed to the green wider pipe-like structure which is all around in a square shape around the small intestine, and this green wider tube-like structure which is 1.5 meter long, that is a large intestine. And inside the large intestine, the unabsorbed, or we can say that undigested food, it passes, okay. So large intestine, here we are having two portion. One is called as colon, and another one is the rectum, okay. So colon finally, like in colon the water get absorbed, and the salts which is present inside the undigested food, it get absorbed, and because the water get absorbed, so the undigested food, it become now what? Semi-solid, and then it stored for some time in the rectum. The blue portion at the end is rectum, and finally it is released, it is removed out of anus by the process of egestion. So this is all about digestion in human. I hope you are able to understand the entire process. Try to draw this diagram, because in biology diagrams are very important. You should know how to draw all these things. I know it is tough, but you should know how to draw and label the things. So keep on practicing, stay blessed, and that's it for today.